Okay, so let's up to now we have been working through the book for Corman, right? So the algorithm book, and we have looked through chapters 3 and chapters 4. Which chapter do you guys think are we going to talk about today? We have done chapter 3, we have done chapter 4, and at the end of this semester I want you guys to go through almost all of the book. Yep. Yes, so we are not going to go through chapter 5 or anything. We are directly going to jump to chapter 22. Okay, so chapter 22 is essentially going to talk about graphs, and then we are going to talk about an algorithm called DFS. So before I begin, I want you guys to, well, before I begin, I have two announcements. The first things first, you would see that there is something called Kaushik Sinha here. Don't worry about it. I totally did not cheat of him and take his slides. He is totally cool with that. And secondly, um, uh, how many of you know what graphs are and what DFS is? Mhm. Only three of you? I mean, how many students are there? Well, there are 39 students. I mean, I need to see more answers. I mean, again, you are not supposed to know this thing. I mean, you are supposed to know what graphs are, but you're not going to supposed to know about more uh, of these things in a bit more detail. But essentially, I just want to know what's the current stature. Okay, so I have some answers that who know what depth first search is, and I have a lot of answers who have no idea what graph theory is. So cool. I'll begin. So okay, so think about it like this. So we know what a tree is, right? We know that a tree can have. Okay, so let me ask you one quick question before we begin. Can a tree have only two children per node, or can they have more than two children per node? So is it always a binary tree where my node has two nodes, and my each of those child nodes can have more than nodes as well, right? Well, exactly, right. So a tree can have more than two nodes, right? Exactly. So it can have as many nodes as possible. Now, today we are going to discuss about some data structure that is called a graph. Yes, all of you are correct. So today we are going to talk about a data structure that is called a graph. So a graph essentially is similar to a tree, but it also differs in a lot of ways in terms of a tree. So let's look at an example. So this would be an example of a graph, right? So imagine that we are not talking about trees anymore. We are still talking about vertices. We are still talking about edges. But imagine that multiple vertices can have links to multiple other vertices in terms of tree, in terms of edges, right? Now, in a tree, remember that every node has two child or more than two children, and then those of nodes have more children and so on, and no node can connect to any other node except their children, right? In a graph, we can have exactly Brian Atkins. Brian Atkins, I'm going to call you Atkins from now. So imagine that in a tree, we can't have connections between two nodes. But in a graph, exactly as Atkins says, is it Atkins or Atkins? Brian? Atkins? Perfect. So in a graph, imagine that we have multiple nodes, and each of those nodes can freely connect to other nodes. Right. So this is what a graph actually looks like. So does everyone understand the difference between a tree and a graph in this particular situation here? So if you understand, tell me the basic difference between a tree and a graph. Anyone? So let me ask you another question. Is this a tree? Yes or no? So can I consider this to be a tree? I have one no, two no's, multiple no's. Why not? Perfect. So we all agree that we cannot consider this to be a tree. Can someone tell me why I can't consider this to be a tree? Exactly. So, Abdul Rahman, notice this carefully. So a tree, let me bring up paint because that is the best I can do. So in a tree, we have nodes, and we know that these nodes are connected to some parent node, right? Now, this would be considered a tree, right? Every node here has a parent node unless it is a tree node, right? Abdul Rahman, I want you to pay attention to this. But let's say that I have this connection here. If I have this connection here, then that means that this particular node has two parents, right? One is this parent and one is this other parent, right? A tree cannot have this. A tree cannot have child nodes that are connected among each other, or a tree basically cannot have circular nodes like this. So that is the difference between a graph and a node. This here would be considered as a graph. On the other hand, if we have this particular structure, then this is a tree where the child nodes do not share any information among each other. Does that make sense? Perfect. So this would be an example of a graph. More specifically, this would be an example of a planar graph or planar graph. Let me type it out for you guys. Right, so this is called a planar graph, and I'll come to this particular situation in a second, but notice what this graph actually depicts. So let's say that we have this map of South America, right? And each of those nations are individual nodes. Now in a graph, we are going to be calling these nodes as vertices. So this is a vertex, this is a vertex, this is a vertex, and so on, right? So 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 13 are all vertices. And all the connections between these two nodes or these two vertices are called edges. So the edge between 6 and 1 is called an edge, right? So we now know of two new things. One is called a vertex, where we have those nodes, and the other is called an edge, right? So an edge connects two vertices. Always two vertices. An edge cannot connect more than two vertices or less than two vertices. An edge cannot connect more than two vertices. It can connect less than two vertices, but I'll come to that later. So the question is, what is the minimum number of colors needed to map the world so that no two neighboring countries have the same color? So we have this map, say, we have this sort of map, and let's say that every country in South America is depicted by some edge. Let's say that Brazil, for this particular uh, uh, vertex 1, let's say it is Brazil. So Atkins, you say that it is 11, and I am going to discuss this particular thing in more detail. But first, before I begin, imagine that this particular continent is represented with this graph, where each of those vertices are countries and each of those edges depict neighboring countries. So 5 is a neighbor of 4, 6, and 1. Right? 8 is a neighbor of 6 and 7. So neighbor in terms of countries. Right? So does everyone understand how we are depicting this particular continent in terms of countries as this graph? I'll come to this particular problem of graph coloring in a second. But does everyone understand how every vertex is a country and every edge represents our neighbor country?
Okay, Laura.
I see one yes. Any other? Any questions about this particular graph representation? Okay, so give me one sec. I think Laura left. I think I should spotlight. I see only one yes. Do you guys have any questions about this representation? This is not the exact representation. Just imagine that we are just representing with vertices countries and edges represent neighboring countries. You guys understand that? Perfect. Okay, so now the question comes that what is the minimum number of colors needed to map the world such that no two countries that are neighboring have the same color. So this is a very historic problem where people started to color different countries in different colors. And the question came that what is the fewest number of colors that I can have such that I can color an entire map of the world such that every country gets its own color and no neighboring countries have overlapping colors such that no neighboring countries have the same color. So in terms of US, you would have Canada and Mexico with different colors. In terms of India, it would be, okay, in terms of India, you can't have India has this, you can't have India with the same color as Pakistan, China, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, etc., etc. So you can't have India with the same colors as with those colors, right? So that is the main reasoning behind this particular problem. I'll come to more abstract implementations of this algorithm, but before that, let me explain to you one more thing. So this, I have been saying this, that this is a planar graph. So a planar graph basically means that no edges of this graph overlap each other. Right. So a planar graph basically means that no edges overlap each other. So in that particular scenario, let's say that I have an extra edge that says that, let's say that we have an extra edge between 7 and 6. Right. And let's say that we have an extra edge between 5 and 30. Now, in this particular sense, we see that these two edges overlap. So is this still a planar graph or is it not a planar graph? Yes or no? Can I re-diagram this particular graph such that no edges overlap? As of now, I have these two edges that are overlapping. But can I redesign this graph such that no edges overlap? I have two yeses. Can someone tell me how would I design this? Well, what I can do is I can essentially make this edge a bit longer and make sure that